Namaste. My name is Janapati Das. Thank you again for joining for another Krishna book reading, Krishna Katha. We're going to read and share about the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna and comment about them. And so please accept my respects. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto my Guru Dev, my spiritual teacher, Jagat Guru Siddha Swarupananda, Paramahamsa Srila Prabhupada, and of course His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, my spiritual grandfather, and of course eternally grateful for his translations and commentary on the Krishna book reading that we have been reading thus far. I would like, if you're new to this channel, that you would subscribe to my channel and like the video. Share these videos. I do have about, up to 70 or 80 videos that I've made from the Krishna book reading so far. So feel free to share those or make comments in the comment section there, like and comment on the comments. And that way we get a higher yield of the algorithm of the YouTube channel so that others can see these videos. I would like to start off by engaging in the Sankirtan, or the Kirtan, hearing and chanting of Krishna's names. Please join along. I'm just going to adjust my camera. Make sure it's okay. I don't seem to have a lot of ants on my... Okay. Haribol, welcome again. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome. So, from our last reading, we had just finished about Krishna erecting the Dwarka fort, and we had this little story where Kuvalayapida, the king, a Yavana king from the south, who attacked at the same time that King Jarasandha was attacking, and of course he brought his army in, and Krishna walked out of the city and walked through the army untouched, and Kuvalayapida had started chasing him and could not catch him. And we were making this point that a non-devotee can never capture Krishna, with his mind or any way, cannot capture Krishna. Only a pure devotee of Krishna, in love and devotion, dedicates their life to the service of the Supreme Lord, can capture the heart of Krishna, can capture Krishna. Krishna allows himself to be captured by the pure devotee of Krishna who loves him and serves him, not by the envious demon like Kuvalayapida. Kuvalayapida was chasing him, and then Krishna had gone into a cave, right? And so he went in there and he's looking around and he's calling him out and calling Krishna a coward and ill names and whatnot, and saw King Muchukunda, who was actually King Muchukunda, asleep on the floor but thought it was Krishna, and went over and kicked him, which was a really bad mistake, because immediately King Muchukunda opened his eyes and looked around at who'd woken him up and who kicked him, and saw him standing there, and immediately rays of fire came out of the eyes of King Muchukunda and burned Kuvalayapida to ashes. And now, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually see what happens next. This is the exciting turn of events in the story. So this is chapter 50, entitled Deliverance of Muchukunda. When Maharaj Parikshit heard this incident of Kuvalayapida. I think that's the elephant. Earlier, the elephant that Balaram and Krishna had attacked, so please forgive me for making that mistake. Kalayavana was the king, not Kuvalayapida. So this is what happens with old age, right? You just start forgetting stuff like this. So when Maharaj Parikshit heard the incident of Kalayavana as being burned to ashes, he inquired about the sleeping man from Shukadeva Goswami. So as you just remember, when we throw in these little things about King Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami, the Srimad Bhagavatam is built on this really wonderful, almost like a flower of flowers, of stories and stories. And as we recall, that there is a story in the history in the Srimad Bhagavatam of where King Maharaj Parikshit creates a so-called offense against a Brahmana, and the son of the Brahmana cursed him to be bitten by a bird at the end of the week. So King Parikshit was going to meditate to his death out in the forest, but then he decided he would inquire about the absolute truth, and he asked people who was the best person to inquire from them. That was the son of Srila Vyasadeva, Shukadeva Goswami. And so for 1 week, he heard about the Srimad Bhagavatam and Krishna and the Krishna's pastimes from Shukadeva Goswami. So here he's asking, he inquired about this sleeping man. Who was he? Why was he sleeping there? How would he achieve so much power that instantly, and by his glance, Kalayavana was burned to ashes? How did he happen to be lying down in the cave of a hill? So these are questions we have, right, when we come to the story. Many questions were put to Shukadeva Goswami, and Shukadeva also answered as follows. My dear king, this person was born in a very great family of King Ishvaku. Okay, so we have Ishvaku, King Ishvaku, who of course is a very famous king in Vedic history, in which Lord Ramachandra was also born. And he happened to be the son of a great king known as Mandata. He himself was also a great soul and was known popularly as Muchukunda. King Muchukunda was a very strict follower of the Vedic principles of Brahminical culture, and he was truthful to his promise. He was so powerful that even demigods like Indra and others used to ask him to please help in fighting with demons, and as such he often fought against the demons to protect the demigods. The commander-in-chief of the demigods, known as Kartikeya, was satisfied with the fighting of King Muchukunda. So Kartikeya, of course, is the son of Lord Shiva. But once he asked that the king, having taken too much trouble in fighting with the demons, retire from fighting and take rest. The commander-in-chief Kartikeya addressed King Muchukunda, "My dear king, you have sacrificed everything for the sake of the demigods. You had a very nice kingdom, undisturbed by any kind of enemy. You left that kingdom to neglect your opulence and possessions, and you never cared for fulfillment of your personal ambition. Due to your long absence from your kingdom while fighting with the demons on behalf of the demigods, your family, your children, your relatives, and your ministers have all passed away in due course of time. Time and tide wait for no living man. Now, even if you retire to your home, you will find that no one is living there. The influence of time is very strong. All your relatives have passed away in due course of time. Time is so strong and powerful because it is a representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Time is therefore stronger than the strongest. By the influence of time, changes in subtle things can be effected without any difficulty. No one can check the process of time. As an animal tamer tames animal according to his will, so time also enters things according to its own will. No one can supersede the arrangement made by the supreme time." So this is a very important lesson for those of us in the material world, kind of lost in this material world, so busy in the means of like family affairs and, job affairs, and trying to find this happiness in the material world, and just thinking, the people come into a situation where they, I work with a lot of young people, and it's pretty interesting because the kinds of worries that they actually have, it's the same worries I had when I was that age, but it is very interesting to watch that and realize that all these things that you strive for and people want to put on their TikTok accounts and in their social media as being very important. Look how beautiful I am. Look how great I look in these clothes. Look how important my ideas are on this channel and whatnot. Are they just fade away eventually. They don't always last, and they never satisfy. So, but yet we still go through that over and over again. There's always new tricks for new generations for Maya Devi to ensnare us and make us forget about like the real importance and real truth and the real purpose of our life in this body. Our real purpose in this life is to have spiritual realization, to approach the understanding that we are not this body, we are not our mind, and we are eternal spirit souls in eternal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Either directly or indirectly. Most people in this material world, they're indirectly in the service of God through his agent of Maya Devi, or material energy, trying to serve material energy, which is owned by and controlled by the Supreme Lord. But that is not the best case scenario for living entities. It is best to be in direct service in our natural eternal function as loving servants of God. So time does not wait for everybody, wait for nobody. And time will, it is said that actually the atheist comes to God in their life and God comes to him as cruel death, as time, cruel time. Time is over. In other words, your body is over. Your time in this body is done. Who you knew, who you were married to, what jobs you had, how much wealth you had, whatever you were trying to achieve, it's just all gone. But the devotee of Krishna is like the baby cub going to the mother cub. The mother cub just picks the baby up with her teeth and takes you away. Thus, addressing Muchukunda, the demigods requested him to ask for any kind of benediction he might be pleased with, accepting the benediction of liberation. Liberation cannot be awarded by any living entity except the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Therefore, another name of Lord Vishnu or Krishna is Mukunda, or he who can award liberation. King Muchukunda had not slept for many, many years. He was engaged in the duty of fighting, and therefore he was very tired. So when the demigod offered benediction, Muchukunda simply thought of sleeping. He replied as follows: "My dear Kartikeya, best of the demigods, I want to sleep now. I want from you the following benediction. Grant me the power to burn by my mere glance anyone to ashes who tries to disturb my sleeping and awakens me untimely." There you go. Krishna's arrangement gives the right benediction for the right thing, and Krishna is able to fulfill that benediction and have his devotee, because he is a devotee of Krishna, a devotee of Lord Ramachandra probably at that time, and so Krishna allows his devotees to engage in service, and this was the best, because Krishna could have easily killed Kali Yavana. It's not that it's very difficult, but Krishna has his means and ways of doing things and giving his devotees the opportunity to serve him. The demigod agreed and also gave him the benediction that he would be able to take complete rest. Then King Muchukunda entered the cave of the mountain. On the strength of the benediction of Kartikeya, Kali Yavana was burnt into ashes simply by Muchukunda's glancing at him. When the incident was over, Krishna came before King Muchukunda. Krishna had actually entered the cave to deliver King Muchukunda from his austerity, but he did not first appear before him. He arranged that first Kali Yavana should come before him. That is the way of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's my point right there. He does one thing in such a way that many other purposes are served. He wanted to deliver King Muchukunda, who was sleeping in the cave, and at the same time he wanted to kill Kali Yavana, who had attacked Mathura city. By this action he served all purposes. When Lord Krishna appeared before Muchukunda, the king saw him dressed in a yellow garment, his chest marked with the symbol of Srivatsha, and the Kaustubha Mani hanging around his neck. Krishna appeared before him with 4 hands as Vishnu Murti, with a garland called Vijjayanti hanging from his neck down to his knees. He was looking very lustrous. His face was very beautiful, smiling, and he had nice jeweled earrings in both his ears. Krishna appeared more beautiful than a human can conceive. Not only did he appear in this feature, but he glanced over Muchukunda with great splendor, attracting the king's mind. Although he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the oldest of all, he looked like a fresh young boy, and his movement was just like that of a free deer. He appeared extremely powerful. His excellence and power is so great that every human being should be afraid of him. When King Muchukunda saw Krishna's magnificent features, he wondered about his identity, and with great humility, he began to inquire from the Lord, "My dear Lord, may I inquire how it is that you happen to be in the cave of this mountain? Who are you? I can see that your feet are just like soft lotus flowers. How could you walk in this forest full of thorns and hedges?" And you remember that was actually something that the gopis always worried about, and whether Krishna would get his feet cut from that. So it's very nice. "I am simply surprised to see this. Are you not therefore the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the most powerful amongst the powerful? Are you not the original source of all illumination and fire? Can I consider you one of the great demigods, like the sun, the moon, or Indra, or king of heaven? Are you the predominating deity of any other planet?" Muchukunda knew well that every higher planetary system has a predominating deity. He was not ignorant like modern men who consider that this earthly planet is full of living entities and all others are vacant. The inquiry from Muchukunda about Krishna's being the predominating deity of a planet unknown to him is quite appropriate. So it's pretty common sense. If you make even some, intelligent scientists will say that, the possibilities of there being living entities on other planets because of how large this universe is. And they don't even know about all the numerous universes that emanate from Vishnu's pores of huge quantities of dimensions, and there are living entities in those universes as well. So it's kind of ignorant to think that, well, we're the only people on Earth in this whole universe. It's just, kind of myopic. He must be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who has many Vishnu forms. He therefore took him to be Purushottam, Lord Vishnu. He could see that the dense darkness within the mountain cave had already been dissipated due to the Lord's presence. Therefore, he could not be other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He knew very well that wherever the Lord is personally present by his transcendental name, quality, form, etc., there cannot be any darkness of ignorance. He is like a lamp placed in the darkness. He immediately illuminates a dark place. It's very wonderful. I actually saw a quote by St. Francis of Assisi, who was also a pure devotee. That's a whole nother story. But he said the same thing. He said that a single candle, a darkness can overtake or conquer even a single candle. And so what to say of, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead? There is no darkness with light like Krishna. Or a devotee, or even a person who's attempting spiritual life, chanting Krishna's names. Darkness cannot overtake that. This is why it's such an important activity to spread the names of Krishna, this light, into this dark world, because the devotee of Krishna is like the illuminating feature of dark cave. That's why it says, I was born in the darkness of ignorance, the dark ignorance and nescience, which is this dark world of not even knowing who we are or why we're here. And my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. So just like someone brings into a cave a torch and suddenly illuminates, and you know which way to go out. So the devotee of Krishna is like the illuminating feature. King Muchukunda became very much anxious to know about the identity of Lord Krishna. And therefore he said, "O best of human beings, if you think that I am fit to know about your identity, then kindly tell me who you are. What is your parentage? What is your occupational duty? And what is your family tradition?" King Muchukunda thought it wise, however, to identify himself to the Lord. Otherwise, he had no right to ask the Lord's identity. Etiquette is such that a person of less importance cannot ask the identity of a person of higher importance without first disclosing his own identity. So King Muchukunda, being a devotee of Krishna, had the spiritual vision to understand that it's like the wonderful thing about this is that you had Kaliyavana, who was this king, probably very powerful, probably very inept in Vedic rules and regulations and whatnot, could not even recognize Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And even in that time, there were many people who didn't see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And these were demoniac kings. So that's what's to say of the living entity in the modern day. Sometimes people are all along in their spiritual progress in a certain way, and they see a devotee and immediately they're attracted to the devotee and what they're teaching. Other people not so much so, they're just offended, or even like outright. I've heard of people who get really, really upset when they hear chanting of Krishna's names, and that is an unfortunate individual, but it's still very powerful for that person to actually even eat prasadam or to hear chanting, even if they're offensive to it. It's beneficial for them. So King Muchukunda is now telling about himself. He therefore informed Lord Krishna, "My dear Lord, I must inform you of my identification. I belong to the most celebrated dynasty of King Ishvaku, but personally I am not as great as my forefather. My name is Muchukunda. My father's name was Mandata, and my grandfather's name was Yuvanashva, a great king. I was very much fatigued due to not resting for many thousands of years. So it's like he was fighting for thousands of years. Back in those days, you could, there was a lot more capability of living entities. They could go fight with the demigods or help the demigods. They were living for, long periods of time. It's not just 90 years, but like thousands and thousands of years in previous ages. So you could be fighting for thousands of years and not be sleeping, and still, I mean, it's pretty like, whoa. It's, you can't even imagine, like, 10 years of not sleeping is like just like mind-blowing. But yeah, that's how far we've kind of gone in the yugas, and now we're only 5,000 years or so into Kali Yuga, with 400 and I guess 25,000 years or 420,000 years still left in this yugas. And things are getting so bad, you can't even imagine how bad they're going to still get. Even within 10 or 20 years, just society has gone really, really, become really demoniac and just hedonistic. That it's amazing. So he would say, I was very much fatigued due to not resting for many thousands of years, and because of this, all my bodily limbs were flattened and almost incapable of acting. In order to revive my energy, I was taking rest in this solitary cave, but I have been awakened by some unknown man who's forced me to wake up, although I was not willing to do so. For such an offensive act, this person has been burnt into ashes simply by my glancing over him. Fortunately, now I can see you in your grand and beautiful features. I think, therefore, that you are the cause of killing my enemy. My dear Lord, I must admit that due to the effulgence of your body unbearable to my eyes, I cannot see you properly. I can fully realize that by the influence of your effulgence, my powerful potency has been diminished. I can understand that you are quite fit for being worshipped by all living entities. So it's very nice. Of course, King Muchukunda has spiritual intelligence, can understand these kinds of things. And yeah. Seeing King Muchukunda so anxious to know about his identity, Lord Krishna began to answer smilingly as follows: My dear kings, it is practically impossible to tell about my birth, appearance, disappearance, and activities. It's true. Even the so-called births in the material world, they are not really births. They're just appearances. He appears to be born, but he is not really born. He is unborn. Krishna is known as Aja, which means unborn. He's never born, he's never dies, and he is eternally existing, as is the living entity. The only thing that is appearing and disappearing or dying is we are appearing and disappearing into the bodies that we currently have in this life, but the bodies are dying. Krishna's body is eternal also. It doesn't die, it doesn't exist. He's unborn. He exists eternally. Perhaps you know that my incarnation, Ananta Dev, so Lord Balaram, right? The snake, and Lord Vishnu is the snake over hood, umbrella, because you could say, over Lord Vishnu's head, right? Protects Lord Vishnu. Also protected Krishna, right? When he was so-called born and brought from Vasudev's prison to Maharaj Nanda's house, and they went through the storm, and so Lord Balaram, Ananta Devi, Ananta Sesha protected them, kept them dry. For an unlimited time, he has been trying to narrate fully about my name, fame, qualities, activities, appearance, disappearance, and incarnation, but still he has not been able to finish. So the glories, the beauty, the wonderful things about Lord Krishna are eternal, and there is nothing, you can't, infinite. You can never stop glorifying or saying wonderful things about Krishna. This is the wonderful thing about reading the Bhagavad Gita or reading these Krishna books. They are also infinite. They are also, because they are non-different than Krishna, you constantly can be praising and learning and engaging in this process of Krishna Katha and Krishna consciousness, and always learning about Krishna, and it's just ever fresh and wonderful. Therefore, it is not possible to know exactly how many names and forms I possess. Krishna has millions, infinite number of names, and they're all imbued with transcendental pleasure, as Lord Chaitanya would say. It may be possible for a material scientist to estimate the number of atomic particles which make up this earthly planet, but the scientist cannot enumerate my unlimited names, forms, and activities. Many times scientists don't even have any entry at all into understanding God because they're so envious of God that they just immediately are atheists, and they oh, this is a thing about fairies and whatnot. But the funny thing is that nobody on this planet believes in fairies, or no adult believes in Santa Claus, or that's why they're relegated to myths and mythology. But when you praise and you read about God, it is something that billions of people believe in and discuss, and there's probably more evidence to show the existence of a God than there is to show that there's not. There are many great sages and saintly persons who are trying to make a list of my different forms and activities, yet they have failed to make a complete list. But since you are so anxious to know about me, I may inform you that presently I've appeared on this planet just to annihilate the demoniac principles of people in general. Just checking on my time here, okay. And to reestablish the religious principles enjoined in the Vedas. I have been invited for this purpose by Brahma, the superintending deity of this universe, and thus I have now appeared in the dynasty of the Yadus as one of their family members. I have specifically taken my birth as a son of Vasudeva in the Yadu dynasty, and people therefore know me as Vasudeva, the son of Vasudeva. You may also know that I have killed Kamsa, who was in a previous life was known as Kalanemi, as well as Pralambasura and many other demons. They have acted as my enemies and have been killed by me. The demon who was presently before you also acted as my enemy, and you have very kindly burned him into ashes by glancing over him. My dear King Muchukunda, you are my great devotee, and just to show you my causeless mercy, I have appeared in this form, and I am very affectionately inclined toward my devotees. And in your previous life, before your present condition, you acted as my great devotee and prayed for my causeless mercy. I have therefore come to see you to fulfill your desire. Now you can see me to your heart's content. My dear King, now you can ask for me any benediction that you wish, and I am prepared to fulfill your desire. It is my eternal principle that anyone who comes under my shelter must have all his desires fulfilled by my grace. When Lord Krishna ordered King Muchukunda to ask a benediction from him, the king became very joyful and immediately remembered the prediction of Garga Muni, who had foretold long before that in the 28th millennium of Vaivashya Manu, Lord Krishna would appear on this planet. As soon as he remembered this prediction, he began to understand that the Supreme Person Narayan was present before him as Lord Krishna. He immediately fell down at his lotus feet and began to pray as follows. So I think we're going to stop there. I always hate to stop in the middle of these things because they're just like nectar. You just want to keep engaging in it and reading it. But we are running a little long on time, so we'll stop here and we will read the prayer by King Muchukunda next time. And for right now, we are going to engage in some more hearing and chanting of Krishna's names, which is the prime benediction for humanity's salvation and happiness. Thank you very much. I will take my glasses off. Okay, Hardy Bowl, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We'll see you next time, Hardy Bowl.